Welcome to No Room for Phonies in our new setup, in our new room with our new equipment. So it's kind of exciting.
We're celebrating episode 75.
75, and we are going to be, for the new year, we're going to be looking at having some guests. So now that we have a great setup, we're going to figure out how to have some more guests.
Yep,
on our podcast. So if you want to be a guest on our podcast, don't be afraid to send me a note, because anyone is welcome. We're not looking for famous people because we're not famous. So anyway, episode 75, I wanted to zip back into a discussion of gratitude, and I called it gratitude that lasts, but also I'm also thinking about gratitude and grace in times of uncertainty. So that's kind of what led me to talk about gratitude again.
Okay.
So the green light moment that I have is when you live according to your basic, simple principles, life goes better. Because no matter what happens to you, like whether you have some great loss or some great problem, if you know your basic principles,
you can weather those storms.
You weather the storms, and you can forgive yourself for certain things, right? You can move past things, move forward. And I mean, the difference between, for me, like you move forward from things, but you never move, like you never kind of lose those things. Like,
no, they come, it's not baggage, but the lessons that you learn from it.
Right. And I mean, it's just like when you lose someone you love, you move on, but you don't
you don't move away from
from it. Yeah. Like, so anyway, I just think that's, and I mean, I've talked a lot in this podcast over the last 74 episodes about the importance of knowing yourself. And I think that goes along with it. So, the book recommendation
is Atomic Habits.
So,
it's a good book. I've read the first three
yeah,
quarters.
That's what you say about every book that I talk about.
Yeah,
I read the
there's
entire.
A habit is that I stop reading partway through.
But I mean, when I read these kinds of books, like there's one I've read called Uncertainty and the Undisruptible, The Science of Stuck, and whatever. It just inspires me to be continually reflective. When I think about life and my kids and the people around me. So he talks a lot about systems that you build into your life in order to make your behavior simple and help your habits fall into place. So, for example, if you want to go for a run every day or work out every day, then when you walk in the door from work, you put your shoes and your workout clothes in a prominent place so that, it's like
easy.
Simple things. Yeah. It's like my toothbrush is by the sink so that at night I brush my teeth before I go to bed. So he talks about all kinds of different systems. Sorry.
What I also appreciated is the dispelling of the myth that you can lose a habit in 21 days or
gain a
habit in 21 days.
No, he doesn't.
That's not even scientifically proven.
No.
And it's, I read maybe in his book that it's based on one study with like a few subjects, research study with just a few people, and
his strategies are less
much more practical.
Yeah, like making time for habits.
And the other thing is rather than trying to drop old or bad habits, you build new habits that replace them.
Yes.
And then the other ones eventually fade away.
Yeah. So, like making time for habits when life is crazy and overcoming lack of motivation and willpower. And he talks a lot about redesigning your environment to make success easier. Like you can't see it, but I have an indoor cycling bike now.
Right.
If I put that in a closet and had to pull it out every time I wanted to use it, I wouldn't use it. But I've set it up in a spot that works where it can stay, and then I don't have to pull it out and whatever. And in the winter, like now I'm going between indoor and outdoor cycling, but in the winter when I'm just using it, I'll leave my shoes and socks and bike shorts right there,
right,
and then I can just jump on and do it. So and getting back on track when you fall off course, and he has a lot of tools and strategies. So
it's a very good book.
It's an excellent book. And then the podcast recommendation is,
I really like the podcast title is You Are Not So Smart, which was named after a book of the same title by author David McRaney. And one of the books that we read of his more recently was How Minds Change. Anyhow, the one episode, a recent episode, I think it's 144 or 244, I can't remember, it's 44. He interviews Annie Duke, who is an author that is on the circuit of promoting her book.
So she's
so
like
a lot of
Brene Brown.
So a lot of people
when I
are
looked her
interviewing
up,
her.
she had been like Brene Brown and a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah. So anyhow, her book is called Quit, and I haven't read the book yet, but I listened to her interview, and it's definitely about decision making and how to know when is a good time to quit something.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's just another one of those.
All falling in line with this.
And then
post-COVID
I've just started listening to a podcast myself by Anderson Cooper, and it's on grief. And what the second person that he interviews is Stephen Colbert, who lost, I think, his father and two brothers in a plane crash. So it's very interesting. The one that I'm listening to right now, I don't know the woman at all. Like, I've never heard of her before, but wow, he's having a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, see, but there's grief. A famous person that gets to interview famous people.
Yeah, we're not going to be interested. Well, maybe I should write Anderson Cooper and see if he wants to come on our podcast. Ha, ha, ha. So gratitude. So I kind of, you can just interject, but if you want to have gratitude that lasts, these are some of the things that you kind of have to do. You can't be picky about what you're grateful for. You have to kind of appreciate.
Okay, so today I'm thankful for this, but I'm not thankful for that.
Well, and just instead of just like waiting for that kind of perfect thing.
Right.
You're just grateful for, you wake up in the morning looking for something to be grateful for, and you're not picky about what you find. Okay. And you recognize that life has changes. So you kind of have to dig deeper when there's a storm and look for things like peace in the midst of the storm kind of a thing. So,
but sometimes life is so overwhelming that some mornings you just really don't have any gratitude, but that's okay.
But you can still have the T-chart of life where you're saying there are still, like, it doesn't have to be and all this sappy stuff, but it can be that idea that despite all the things that are happening right now in my life, there are still things that are working out, and I have people who are supporting me or whatever.
Well, that goes back to that other book or was it a book you were reading about the mixture of the good and the bad at the same time?
Yeah, like life is a mixture of good and bad at all times. So you have to really, and there are times when you have to work harder to choose. Right. Grace and gratitude, I think, go together. And then the whole idea of practicing mindfulness and staying grounded and looking for positive ways to think and feel. And sometimes, for me, the hardest thing is sometimes towards others, because when other people are nasty, I'm like...
Well, it doesn't even have to be nasty people.
No.
Sometimes it's just
ridiculousness,
silliness
that
makes you.
Oh yeah, I could tell a story right now, but I can't.
No, you can't.
And then that idea of what you were just saying. If it's the T-chart of life that I call it, the challenges and then the things you're grateful for. And sometimes the challenges outweigh the things you're grateful for, but you can always find some sort of balance between things, right? Sorry, my little earbud just fell out.
That's all right. So the next thing you have is to always keep the needs of others kind of at the forefront.
Right.
Or do random acts of kindness. And that can instill and build gratitude. Just because it's not about a comparison, because when you're looking out for somebody else's needs, it's not that you're saying, they're needier than I am right now. It's them. It's just...
Well, I'll give you an example of today. Like, I'm tired today or whatever. I feel a little bit more tired than I normally do. But a friend of mine was selling calendars for Women's Place at their prize calendar. So every day somebody. So I went and I took $30 or $10 each. So I bought 2 for each of our neighbors. So, and it's not because I think they need a calendar, because they don't. It was a worthy cause. I wanted to support my friend who was spending time trying to sell them. And yeah, it did in the end make me feel better. Yeah. And I stood and talked to her. I met somebody I hadn't seen for a long time at the mall. So when you put yourself out a little bit, it does.
The T chart, the positives,
it puts
kind of
some other on the other sides of. And I really believe in this, regularly telling people what you mean to them, and life is short. And you need to make sure that you tell
are you
people
telling them what you mean to them or what they mean to you?
What you mean? No, what they mean to you. Sorry, I don't know. I typed that, so that makes no sense.
So I'm very special to you.
Yes. Yeah. Did you know? Do you remember how special I am to you? No, the opposite. But, and I write letters to our sons. And I remember, Sebastian has just moved out, so I've only just started writing to him. And he's like, why did you write me a letter? Why don't you just tell me? And I said, well, I am telling you in a letter. It's kind of fun, isn't it?
Snail mail. He's not
used to it. And then to spending time with the people you love. And the old, I think one of my green light moments is that everything is better when you get outside.
Yeah.
And I think when you are struggling or whatever, you do have to look for ways to improve your mood. And exercise and hobbies and doing things for others do pick you up, and
especially fresh air. Even if you're not the most fit type person or into hard walking or cycling, just going outside and sitting and breathing
even
in
when
fresh
it's
air.
Cold,
Bundling up and sitting on the porch.
Well, and I'm going to go out in a little while because I actually bought Monster leaf bags. So
that look like monsters?
Yeah,
so you're going to fill them up
with leaves.
Fun.
So anyway, and then, I looked at a bunch of ways to show gratitude, like say you're thankful, write a letter or a note. I love homemade gifts, like for Halloween. I sewed all these little bags for the kids and some of the adults that are part of our lives.
Yeah.
And so they can be simple things, like visit with, actually go to someone's house and visit with them. Especially older people. I did kind of a post last night, a pre-Christmas post, because my Christmas cactus is actually blooming. And I wrote, 10 things that you can do to show, to be kind or whatever at Christmas.
We need to actually put that Christmas cactus on the top of the table and move the other plants below.
Yeah.
Just for now.
Yeah, because it's beautiful, right? And ask how people are actually doing, and then actually listen to their response.
Being curious again, and listening and being
so
curious.
I would never do this, but maybe some people would. And then I was thinking, well, maybe this would be a good...
What's that? Would you
this next one, make a gratitude scrapbook.
Oh, okay.
So...
That really sounds like you.
Does it?
No, not really.
No, well, I was just thinking...
Scrapbooking and...
Well, that should be maybe my New Year's resolution, to make every month or something, put in things that you're thankful for. But I really liked it in terms of making it for somebody else or doing it as a class.
Yeah,
if school. You're a teacher, every month or just throughout the year, to help kids kind of focus in on what's good and what's happening and what they're thankful for.
And just to model mindfulness for kids, because their lives can be quite chaotic. And
or even just every kid to keep a page and then put it together as a scrapbook. But anyway, I just thought that was kind of a cool idea. And I think there's the stop, look, go, where stop because we rush through life and we miss opportunities because we don't stop and recognize them. And look, we must all use all our senses to enjoy what life has to offer. I know the other day when I was making granola, right? And you walked in, you were at work and you walked in, and it's like the whole house is full of
granola
the smell
smells.
Of honey and maple syrup and granola, and So I think we forget those tiny little joys that life can bring us. And we should, and then the last one is stop, look, go. And we should do whatever life offers us in the present moment. And I think that came out in the Uncertainty book that I just read. Like sometimes it might be difficult, but we really do have to do our best to enjoy every moment. So like, you know, even if it's a little bit uncertain or not what you're used to do, sometimes if you just jump in and try something, it actually works out, and you have to get over the fear and the uncertainty and throw yourself out
right.
there
And the risks don't have to be huge and dramatic, like moving to another country.
No.
It can be just something like going over to a neighbor's that you really haven't ever greeted or chatted with and just saying hello.
And just being kind, like not nice, but kind. Nice and kind are two different things to me.
Enlighten me. What's the difference?
Like kindness is like from your heart. And sometimes people are nice, but...
Oh, so nice is more like put on?
Sometimes I feel like that. And sometimes you'll say to somebody when they're speaking truth to you, well, that's not nice. But sometimes truth is kind.
Right.
Even when it's not maybe what you would call nice. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the day. And then how does gratitude work when life is disrupted or uncertain? And I read, like fear is kind of the opposite of courage. To me, courage goes with gratitude. And sometimes I think you have to just face your fears with gratitude and grace. And then peace and an understanding that what happens is sometimes out of your control, and you just have to meet it head on. Like a lot of things that happen to us in life are really outside of our control.
I would say most things are, unless we've made some really dumb choices, and then we have to live with that. But I think
there's a lot of things. So I think you have to advocate for yourself and make decisions that are based on the understanding that hard things do bring us wisdom and empathy and strength to hopefully help somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So that's my little take on gratitude. I don't know if you have anything else
No, I'm just thinking of, of having a full cup so that it spills over into other people's lives. And sometimes with uncertainty and hardship, there are leaks. And so maybe you just have to think of a smaller cup so that despite the leaks, you have enough at the top to kind
and
of
then
overflow. And it's leaking at the bottom, but it's a slow leak. So you still have enough on top
and the other thing,
to give to other people,
somebody
even very
said,
small.
The cup is not half full, it's refillable. Your cup is refillable. So you can have, I think the thing that I don't like sometimes about the idea of living in this kind of swirl of gratitude is that it takes away kind of the idea that you can have a bad day.
Yeah.
Where you don't feel particularly grateful, or you're sick, or you're lonely, or you're this, or you're that. And that's a normal, that's permission to be human.
Sorry, I'm just thinking off the cuff here, but what about being grateful for being able to experience, to have the feelings of sadness and grief?
Yes.
I think,
there's a humanness.
There's those days when you have a good cry, and then when it's over, you're like, I feel good. So maybe you can just be grateful for having been able to have a good cry that day, and the space, the time, the privacy, whatever.
Well, and I think the thing about fear, about loneliness, about all those feelings and everything, we have to embrace them. But the big difference that I found, and in everything, every single thing I've ever read, is that it's fine, have those feelings, just don't live there.
Right.
And so that's the important part of, you can go down there, but then if you have some of these strategies for, seeking out gratitude in your life, then that's your way out. That's your way to climb.
Yeah. It's just hard for people that are stuck in the down and outs for 5 or 7 weeks or longer, and they just don't see the out, right? Like,
Right.
but then you talk about, well, how about let's go for a walk right now because I see that you're feeling depressed, or you're telling me that you're depressed, and then they just like they don't want to. They want to stay and wallow.
Well, and I think also as well, I think we do have to recognize that there are like times when you have to step out and get help.
Yes.
Like, right? If
Yeah.
you really are unable to work your way through fear or anger or grief or whatever, that's fine.
It is.
But, you
But
know,
seeking the help of a professional is
right. Or,
yeah, it's important to do.
right. And I mean, I'm not a gratitude journal kind of a person. Like that just isn't me, because I just want to live in the moment. I don't want to, live.
Writing that thing down doesn't, you can just speak or think your gratitude. You don't have to
Right.
write
And
it
I mean,
down.
I'm in the moment, just kind of living my,
Yeah, well,
living
you write
the best life
about
that I
other
can.
things.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for me,
And I've tried journaling so many times and given up after 11
Well, for
days
me,
to 40 days to
I'm
the
not
longest
jour-
stretch I think was 30 like 3 months, and then it just kind of fell apart.
well, for me, I'm not journaling a lot of my thoughts. I'm journaling based on books that I'm reading that are making me think. And so a lot of times I'm writing down a quote or a thought or something that has, changed the way I think about something, so that I can go back and kind of
find-
like, I think back to your mother's journal where it was everything she did all day long and what she cooked, and that I don't find that inspiring to go back and
No,
read.
it was a logbook of activities.
But
and
sometimes
events.
I dig into some of my old journals where I see things that I was learning and thinking about like a year ago or 2 years ago. And I'm like, okay, I've come a long way since then. Like I've used those thoughts to make me, a better or more responsive or kinder person. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think that gratitude, grace, and kind of having it, to me, it's like the difference between happiness and joy. Thankfulness and gratitude are the same. I can say thank you, but gratitude is more of a lifestyle than an immediate thing. Whereas joy to me is more of a, a deeper, than happiness
it's
is
interesting
like, I got
because
a chocolate
having
bar.
grown up in the Christian paradigm where you're supposed to pray your thanks to God. So we prayed thank you for the meals, or we prayed thank you for whatever. But today at the graduation ceremony at the college, there was a blessing given by an Indigenous person.
Was it on the
It was
screen?
on a video.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I saw it actually.
Yeah, and I mean, first in the tongue of the original Indigenous group, and then kind of a summary in English what the blessing was about. And I'm like, that was a deeper gratitude type of blessing.
So to me, there's thankfulness. I'm thankful for my food. I'm thankful for my mom. I'm thankful for,
Yeah.
And then there's gratitude, which is deeper into your soul.
Mm-hmm. But I think you arrive at gratitude through thankfulness sometimes.
But that's what all these little strategies are about. Because then you realize, hey, my life is a life that I should be grateful for, despite all of the struggles and things that I have to work. I'm not thankful for. Anyway, so those are some thoughts on gratitude. And on November 15th, we're going to talk about the joy of empty nesting.
Woo-hoo.
Less parenting, more sharing.
That's right.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you for joining us here on No Room for Phonies.
Episode 75.
Yes. And what did I call it?
Just gratitude.
Gratitude that lasts.
Oh, gratitude that lasts.
So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back on November 15th. And remember, if you want to be a guest speaker or a guest guest interviewee on No Room for Phonies, just send us a little message.
And we'll even do it via Zoom.
Yeah, we would do it via Zoom for sure. Yeah. So thanks for listening to Gratitude That Lasts, No Room for Phonies.
Good night.